Good day everyone. So now we're going to discuss about statistics. So first, what is statistics? Statistics, the practice or science of collecting and analyzing numerical data in large quantities, especially for the purpose of inferring proportions in a whole from those in the representative sample. So ang statistics, ginagamit to collect and analyzing numerical data. So malalaman natin yung average or yung total ng isang population or group of data. So dito sa statistics, we have three measures. Number 1, measure of central tendency, measure of dispersion. Number 3, measure of relative position. So what is measure of central tendency? Measure of central tendency is a typical value for a probability distribution. It is important to the researchers to know the typical numerical point in a set of data. So, dito naman, ginagamit natin to para makuha yung normal values of a set of data. We have 4 measures in central tendency. First, the mean, median, mode, and range. So, what is mean?
This is the arithmetic average. It is used for continuous data. To find the mean, you need the sum of the given data divided by how many of numbers of data. For given example, 16, 36, 10, 29, 70, you need to add all the given data. 16 plus 36 plus 10 plus 29 plus 70 is equals to 161 divided by 5. 5 is the set of data. The mean is 32.2.
Taking the median, for instance, we have series of numbers 2, 4, 10, 16, 29, 36, 70, and 81. The given numbers are already arranged into lists. The greatest all we need to do is to get the middle number, which is 16 and 29. To totally get the median, we have to add 16 plus 29 times 12 equals 45 over 2. Finally, median equals 22.5.
There is a data set 10, 16, 29, 36, 70. Here in this data set, there is no mode because there is no duplicate number, so there is no mode. And it will only have mode once in the data set is there repeating or repeated number, like example of data set with a mode 43315. So may naulit po ditong number, so 3 po ang naulit kaya siya po yung mode O. Dito po sa dataset na to is my mode.
The list in the greatest number in the dataset. To find the mid-range, you need to identify the greatest in the lowest number of the given data. For given example, 10, 16, 29, 36, and 70. You need to subtract the greatest number in the lowest number. So the greatest number of this given data is 70, and the lowest number of this given data is 10. So 70 minus 10 is equals to 60. It's used in real life to make mathematical calculation. Range can be used to calculate the amount of time that has passed, like when calculating your age. The current year is 2021, and I was born in 2001. How old am I? Or how much time has passed? So, 2021 minus 2001 is equals to 20. So 20 is my age now.
Measure of dispersion show how spread out data is. So kanina, the measure of central tendency ay nabibigay lang ng average ng data. Dito naman sa measure of dispersion, malalaman natin how far or how close a number in the data from the average value. So we have 4 measures of dispersion: the range and interquartile range, mean division, variance, and standard deviation.
Measure of dispersion. Range. The range measure the distance between the largest and smallest value. So, may subtraction tayong magaganap. Meaning, imamayos mo yung maliit na data value sa malaking data value. So, yung malaking number sa maliit na number para makuha yung range data or given data. Meron ditong example na 1, 2, 5, 7, 8, 19, 22. At naka-arrange na siya. At kung napapansin nyo, meron tayo ditong 1 na maliit na number at 22 na malaking number. Imamayos lang natin ng 1 sa 22. So, 22 minus 1 equal 21. Yung given data natin may range na 21. Another example, meron ditong negative number and positive number. So, pag ganitong klase ng given data, kailangan muna talaga natin i-arrange from the less to greatest. So, kung napapansin nyo, meron tayo ditong negative 8, negative 5, negative 12, negative 1, positive 4, positive 7, positive 11. Ang pinakamaliit na value is negative 12. At ang sunod ay negative 8, negative 5, negative 1. And for positive naman, maliit ay positive 4, positive 7, positive 11. So, ganito ganito naman ang positive number natin ay positive 11 minus negative 12. So, add natin ng 12 at 11. So, 11 plus 22 equal 23. So, the range for the given data for the letter B example is 23. So, the answer is 23.
Mean division, the average amount that the values in a data set differ from the mean. The mean of the absolute values of the numerical differences between the numbers of a set, such as statistical data and their mean or median. X, the mean, 3, 2, 1, 3, 4, 5, 1, 3. Sum of the mean data set equals 22. N equals 8 equals 22 divided by 8. It is equals 2.75. 2.75 kasi 22 divided by 8. It is equal 2.75. Para makuha yung mean division, i-add lahat ng data set. Tapos, i-divide kong ilang numbers data para makuha yung final answer.
Variance is the expectation of the square deviation of a random variables from its population mean or sample mean. Variance is a measure of dispersion, meaning it is a measure of how far a set of number is spread out from their average value. Standard deviation looks at how spread out a group of number is from mean by looking at the square root of the variance.
So, we're gonna find the range, variance, and standard deviations in a group of data. The highest number minus the lower, it is the range. So, let's add the columns. This column is the class boundary. It is the combination of the lower and the upper class boundary. So, the first row is the lower class boundary. It is 9.5 because 10 minus 0.5 is 9.5. And the upper class boundary is 12.5 because we add 0.5 to the upper limit. So, the class boundaries is subtracting 0.5 to the lower limit and also adding 0.5 to the upper limit. And let's come to the next column row. So, subtract 0.5, it's 12.5 and at 0.5. So, it's 15.5, then 15.5 to 18.5, 18.5 to 21.5, and 21.5 to 24. Then, let's come to the range with formula. The range of a group data which is to the highest upper class boundary and the lower class boundary. So the highest upper class boundary is 24.5. As we can see, the biggest and the smallest lower class boundary, which is 9.5, so the difference of these two will be 15. So the range is equal to 15. And now, let's find the variance and the standard deviation. Based on the formula, we need to find first the mean. So we can remember on how to find the mean of a group data. But before that, we need the column X. So the middle of 10 and 12 is 11 that we divided by 2. And we will get 11 in the same way. And the next row is 14 and 17. And 20 and 23. So those are the middle numbers for each group. 10 to 12 is represented by 11. 13 to 15 is represented by 14, and so on. The next column is f times x. So f times x, frequency times the class 1. So 5 times 11 is 55. 8 times 14 is 112. 5 times 17 is 85. 10 times 20 is 200. And 2 times 23 is 46. Then we will get the sum of this fx. The total of fx is 498. And now we can find the mean, so means equal to. As we remember, it's the sum of fx divided by n. So it's equal to 498 divided by 30. So the quotient is 16.6. The next column is x minus mean. So 11 minus 16.6, it will be negative 5.6. Then 14 minus 16.6, it is negative 2.6. Then 17 minus 16.6, 0.4. 20 minus 16.6, 3.4. 23 minus 16.6 is equal to 6.4.
The x minus mean, square of the difference of x and mean. So, meron tayong square, negative 5 and 6. Yan. Square x. If it's square of negative, still possible. So, dito sa column na ito, hindi tayo mag-expect ng negative answer. So, the next row is square of negative 2.6. Square of negative 2.6 will be 6.76. Square of 0.4. 0.4. Yan. Ito yun. Tagal naman. 15. Yan. Ito yun. So, parehas din sa susunod na row. The square of 3.4, it will be 11.56. And the square root of 6.4 is 40.96. So, that's the square of x minus mean. Ayan. So, next column naman tayo. Sa frequency and the square of x minus mean. Ayan. The last column. So, times the frequency and the square of x. Ito yung frequency natin. So, like what I said, i-multiply lang natin sa frequency. So, it will be 5 times 31.36. It will be 156.8. 156.8. Then, ito yun, 156.8. So, next is 8 times 6.76 is 54.08. Then, 5 times 0.16, it will be 0.8. And 10 times 13.6. And the last is 2 times 40.96 is 81.92. Then we will get the sum of F times F and the square of x minus mean. Ayan, i-add natin ito. So, it will be 409.2.
409.2 divided by 30 minus 1. So, the 30 is the total frequency. So, 409.2 divided by 29 is equal to 14.11. Para makuha yung standard deviation, kailangan lang natin kunin yung square root ng 14.11. So, the answer is 3.76. Measure of relative position. A measure of position determines the position of a single value in a relation to other values in a sample or a population dataset. Dito naman sa measure of relative position, ito yung nag-determine ng value of data if it is the average, and ano ba yung tinutukoy dun sa average, yun ba ay mataas or hindi. So we have three common measure of position: the percentiles, quartiles, standard scores, or z-scores.
Percentiles is a comparison score between a particular score and the scores of the rest of a group. In percentiles though, we're just comparing the data or the score to know if it is equal or lower than it. For example, the 25 is the percentile rank, so we can identify if the score that you get is lower or higher. If you get 25 percentiles on tests, so it means 25% of other test takers get below your score. By comparing the score, we can know if your score is lower or higher.
Quartiles is a type of quartile which divide the number of data points into 4 parts or quarters of more or less equal size. The quartiles used to divide the data set in 4 parts to know where in the center point of the data is. It is also ordered from smallest to largest to easy compute the quartiles.
Now percentiles. Example 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, and 15. So there are 9 data items. Solution to get the quartiles. First, find the median. So quartile 2 is equals to 8. Now, find the median of the first half of data. So quartile 1 is equals to 5. Finally, find the median of the second half of data. So quartile 3 is equals to 10.
Standard score or z-score is the number of standard deviation by which the value of a row score is above or below the mean value of what is being observed or measured.
For example, x is equals to 120, mean is equals to 100, standard deviation is equals to 10. So you need to subtract 120 minus 100 equals to 20. So 20 divided by 10 is equals to 2. Interpretation. 120 is 2 standard deviations above the mean. I will give you additional information. A z-score, also called a standard score, gives you an idea of how far from the mean a data point is. But more technically, it's a measure of how many standard deviations below or above the population mean a row score is. A z-score can be played on a normal distribution curve. This is an example. Thank you for listening.
So those measures in statistics, the measure of central tendency, measure of dispersion, and measure of relative position are really important when doing quantitative research. Kasi puro numerical data ang ina-analyze tas kinukumpute para makuha yung results. Statistics is also important to our daily life because there is so many information in the world and much of that information need to use statistics. It is also help us to know the proper of collecting data and employ the correct analysis and help us to easy present the result. That's all. Hope you learned something from our video lesson presentation.